A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a significant escalation of tensions between the Trump administration and Harvard University, the federal government has announced a cut of $450 million in federal grants to the Ivy League institution. This decision comes just one day after Harvard publicly defended itself against accusations from the administration, which claims the university is a hub for liberalism and anti-Semitism. The letter issued by a federal anti-Semitism task force outlines that Harvard will lose grants from 8 federal agencies, adding to the $2.2 billion in funding that had already been frozen earlier this year. The task force's letter characterizes Harvard as a breeding ground for virtue signaling and discrimination, and warns that the university faces a steep, uphill battle to restore its reputation as a leading academic institution. The administration's stance has been clear. It accuses Harvard of prioritizing appeasement over accountability, which, it claims, has led to the forfeiture of the university's claim to taxpayer support. The fallout from this ongoing feud has prompted Harvard to file a legal challenge against the sanctions imposed by the Trump administration. This latest lawsuit is an update to an earlier legal action taken in April, where Harvard sought to block the initial $2.2 billion funding freeze. The university has faced a wave of sanctions from the White House after it became the first U.S. university to openly defy the government's request to limit pro-Palestinian activism and to end diversity, equity, and inclusion practices on campus. President Trump has made it clear that he wants Harvard to lose its tax-exempt status, and the Department of Homeland Security has threatened to revoke the university's eligibility to host foreign students. The Education Department recently stated that Harvard will not receive any new federal grants until it agrees to comply with the administration's demands, which include making broad leadership changes, revising admissions policies, and auditing its faculty and student body to ensure a diversity of viewpoints. This pressure campaign is not limited to Harvard. Other prestigious universities, such as Columbia University, the University of Pennsylvania, and Cornell University, have also faced cuts in funding as part of the administration's efforts to enforce compliance with its agenda. In its amended lawsuit, Harvard claims that a significant portion of the funding that was initially frozen has now been terminated, with little hope of restoration. A letter from the National Institute of Health, dated May 6, informed Harvard that grants were being cut due to allegations of anti-Semitism on campus. The letter indicated that grants are typically suspended pending corrective action. However, it stated that no corrective action is possible here, according to the lawsuit filed by Harvard. The cuts to Harvard's funding are part of a broader narrative surrounding the Trump administration's approach to higher education, particularly regarding institutions that have hosted protests related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In March, President Trump began seeking to impose new regulations on top universities that had seen pro-Palestinian protests, which he labeled as illegal and accused participants of anti-Semitism. However, student leaders involved in these protests have described their actions as peaceful responses to perceived human rights abuses in Gaza. As the situation continues to unfold, Harvard's legal battles are set against the backdrop of a national conversation about academic freedom, institutional accountability, and the role of federal funding in higher education. The university's ability to navigate this complex landscape will be closely watched as it attempts to reclaim its standing amidst the ongoing scrutiny from the Trump administration. The implications of these funding cuts extend beyond Harvard, potentially affecting the broader landscape of higher education in the United States as institutions grapple with the demands of a politically charged environment. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.